Today, I'm here in Port Huron, Michigan, and I am about to visit the Huron Lightship. That's coming up next!
Born in 1920 in Brooklyn, New York. Sailed up here to the Milwaukee district over in Lake Michigan. Milwaukee district of the U.S. Lighthouse Service is what it originally belonged to. It served the first 15 years of its service as mostly as a relief ship. And you see, here's a picture of it right here with relief on the side of it. You notice down here it says Huron, and up here it says Manitou. What's the story with that? They keep changing the name on it. Well, the fact is that lightships don't have names, they have numbers. The locations that they serve have the names. So this ship was a relief ship in the Milwaukee district, so all around Lake Michigan and up into the Straits of Mackinac, all of the places where they needed a light. Well, you know, a lightship is basically a lighthouse that floats. So where they had a dangerous area, they would put a lightship if they couldn't put a lighthouse. And but this one was a relief. So what it did was, when one of the lightships that was on station required some either repairs that had to be done at the dock or whatever, they would go out and stand that post. But they wouldn't bother putting their name on it because they weren't going to be there forever. Now, for a couple of years, it did serve at the North Manitou Shoals. So it says Manitou on the side. It was a permanent station for them at the time. In 1935, 15 years after it was born, it came over here into Lake Huron as a relief because their relief ship was already busy, and relieved what was currently the Huron Lightship. It was a ship that had been there since 1921. I had been on station 14 years. Now, when I stay on station 14 years, it can't stay out there for 14 years, obviously. And in the winter on the Great Lakes, you don't stay on station anyway because the shipping season is over, so there's no reason to have them out there. So they would go out in April and come back in December, the end of December. And for all the time in between, though, if things went right, they would be anchored in spot for that time. The ship that was out here, the LV-96, needed repair, and our ship, the LV-103, went to be the relief ship. Well, in 1936 it became the permanent ship. They didn't bring the LV-96 back. So from 1936 until 1970, it was permanently the Huron. Now you can see here's a picture of it, the way it was configured at that time, because originally it was a coal-fired boiler steam ship, and so it had the big stack. It was run by coal, and it was built with a light on it up here that was a acetylene gas light, and they generated their own acetylene here on the ship to run the gas light. By 1934, it had changed over to a pair of electric lights. So when it started here in 35, it actually had the pair of electric lights that you see on the top right now. So from 35 until 1970, this was the permanent post of the ship. A couple of interesting things. Number one, during World War II, it was the only lightship serving in the United States. All the lightships on the oceans had been taken off because of enemy action, and the rest of the lightships in the Great Lakes had already been replaced by either permanent lights or buoys that were sufficient. They were going to more electronic things than the lights. So this was the very last lightship on the Great Lakes in 1970 when it was retired. And then when it was retired, it went to Detroit. The next year, it was donated to the city of Port Huron, and through the subsequent years, the city built. Let's see a picture over here. Right here. I don't know why I can't see this picture, guys. Why? Oh, because my hand's on it. This is where they built the seawall here and brought it up from Detroit with a tug. The reason they brought it up with the tug was because the insurance for one day to bring this ship up here was more expensive than having a tug bring it up. So they brought it up with the tug and they put it in, and they surrounded it with seawall, filled it in with sand, and here we sit. That's why we're not rocking and rolling. So, and it's 97 foot long and 24 foot wide, 25 foot wide, and it would be rocking and rolling right now, even in kind of quiet seas, because this thing isn't very big, and they're a little bit shallow in the draft, and they kind of bob around a little bit. That's what and if that were happening, I wouldn't be on here because I get seasick. So that's a little history of how it got out here. Now when we get into the wardroom, I'll show you exactly where the station was and some things like that, and show you around the wardroom, which is the officers' quarters. So let's start there.